quick introduction of a little bit of what the day is going to bring and kind of who you are, but I'll definitely let you introduce yourself. You can do that way better than I. And we'll let you take the show and run with it. And we'll go from there. So,
okay, great.
Thanks again for taking time to work with these guys. These is an incredible group of students.
Okay, great. I'm excited. How many of you read comic books? Ooh, that's a lot. Okay, that's great. So how many of you had read comics that are in black and white? Okay, yeah. They're not as common. How many of you have read comics that are in color? Yeah, you've seen a lot of those? Yeah, so when we make comics, because they have to come out so fast, right? Like when you're drawing, it takes a long time to draw, right? It takes time to color and it takes time to write. So a lot of the times, and I think Claire has already talked to you about this, but the comic book industry, we split the book into different jobs. And my job is to add the color. So that means when it goes to the printing, I'm using colors that are okay to print. That I'm using colors that will look nice on the page, that they show off the characters, that they make sense for the feeling of the story, right? Like, have any of you ever gone into a bright yellow room? Maybe you have one of those in your school, like it's bright yellow and you go in there and the first time you look in, you're like, right? That's yellow is kind of an impact color. And then if you go in, is your library painted blue?
There are some blue.
Yeah. So blue can be like a more calming color. And so part of my job is also to think about how these colors make me feel. And then I can think about how those colors are going to make the reader feel. So one of the tools you can use is you can like look at the colors around you and think about those feelings. And then you're able to sort of recreate those feelings in the viewer. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. You guys want to see me color a page?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's been a little bit since I've used Zoom, so hopefully I remember how to do this. All right, here we go. So I use a program that's called Photoshop. If you want to try experimenting with something like this at home, there is a program called GIMP, GIMP, that's free. And there's a program that's called Pixlr, PIXLR. Pixlr is a little better for drawing. It's just like a mobile app. So it's not quite as powerful as GIMP, which is not as quite as powerful as Photoshop, or you may have heard of Clip Studio. You don't have to have those. Those are for like when you're running a company. Okay, GIMP is perfectly fine. Whatever you can use to make a drawing or to practice color, that's all good. And I am personally a big fan of even just holding a magazine up to a window and tracing. You can do whatever gets the job done. There's no cheating in art. Okay. So I have this page prepped a little bit. And what this page is supposed to happen is they're supposed to be in a hospital. And so we are going to walk through the process of making this look a little bit like a hospital, right? Because right now it just is plain. There's no color on the page. So does anybody have any memories of the color of a hospital? Or any memories of the feeling of a hospital? I'm gonna need Greg to call on people because you guys are tiny for me.
Right.
I think about kind of like a light turquoise blue, kind of like emergency room more than hospital, almost like a light calming, but also like don't fall asleep because you're in a hospital.
Yeah, yeah.
And kind of like tile floors and stuff like that.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is we're right exactly on the same page. And here's what's going to happen. A lot of the times, if you experiment with drawing, sometimes you take something a little too far and you're like, whoops, that was too much. You got to pull it back. but sometimes the context matters. So the first color I put down is going to look, because everything's surrounded by white, the first color I put down is going to look like too much, but we'll work through it. It'll become less too much. So we're going to make all these walls. So like I said, I already prepped this. So that's why I can do these selections real quickly. We're gonna make all these walls like a pretty bright blue right now. She has a robot arm, which I think is a pretty important part of her character. So we also want to make sure that stands out. And I want to make sure there's like some red on the robot arm so that it's not just gray. The red will help draw the eye to it. And right now that's, do you see how that's not quite darker than the wall? We do want it darker than the wall so it stands out against the wall. And then we're going to pull up the wall a little bit because it is too dark. And we want these drawings to stand out a little bit. All right. What are some other characteristics of a hospital that we need to think about when we're coloring a hospital?
Bright lights.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you think about? You got some?
It seems like very lonely and empty.
Yeah. What are there, is there anything, any colors or anything like that that makes you think of like sort of a lonely, empty feeling?
Back, I don't know if you heard it. They said light beige.
Oh, yeah. Light beige is a very lonely color. So let's try to work that in here. So now we've set ourselves up for an interesting problem that I actually am very excited about. We're starting to develop a palette with the blue and the brown. Like it makes kind of a nice color combination. But if we do something like this, if we throw in a bright yellow, oh, let's make it not such a good yellow. That sort of throws off our palette, right? That looks a little jarring. So we want to try to think about what are some colors that look nice together without just being the same color.
The yellow paler or
Yeah. And I think that'll be nice too, because then we can start working that yellow into the lights, right? And we're gonna work it into this little room. Ugh, no, that didn't work. We'll have to come back to that room because I'm not happy with these solutions. Okay. All right, so one choice I made there affected everything else. And that's okay, that happens. We just change stuff. It's fine. There's no mistakes. All right. There's a cheat you can do in Photoshop that is harder to do in other things, but you can turn it to grayscale so it's easier to see. And that's one of those things that really helps you when you're trying to make something look believable, is making sure it has the right grayscale. So I'm going to think a little bit about that floor tile we talked about. I want this brighter. And I think this hallway, I think it has one of those situations where it's like telling you the different routes of where to go in the hospital. So we're gonna try to make these kind of jarring. And we'll see if that works. All right. Do we see any potential problems that I might run into maybe with that Jaguar there?
It might not fit the color scale.
Yeah, that is true. But there's good news. That is a hallucination. So we don't have to make it the color a Jaguar might normally be. So can we think of any ways to make it look like a hallucination?
Take multiple colors. You can also turn down the opacity.
Yep. Any other ideas?
More transparency or lighter colors.
Yep.
There was also another suggestion in the back about multiple colors.
Great. These are all very good. And what I was going to do was make it glowy and multiple colors. So it sounds like we're all on the same page here. This is the slow, tedious part of my job, is when I have to slowly select everything. I know you all are in the start of your process, but do you all have any questions yet about drawing or how to get inspiration?
Questions?
No, nothing? All natural born artists? That's great.
So Marissa, this art pencil drawing came to you, right? And then
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
step.
So this is somebody else drew this, and then they uploaded it to the company, and then the company sent it to me, and then I'll work on it, and then I send it back to the company, and then it gets sent to somebody else, and they'll put the words on it, and then it gets sent to the publisher, so the print shop, and then the print shop has to prepare it for printing. If I've done my job well, they don't have to do too much on it, but you know.
And you generally have a pretty tight turnaround time.
Ooh, yeah. Very tight. All right. We're going to do a little offset like this. I feel like maybe that's a little hard to see, huh? So we can take it down a little bit. There we go. And then I don't like how there's a very clear silhouette where I moved it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to obscure that a little bit. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how we know this is a Jaguar, even when it doesn't look like a Jaguar at this point, right? Because I'm I'm playing with the colors, so it doesn't have all the cues of being a jaguar. Oh, we especially don't want it to obscure that. If you all could think of, everybody try to think of one type of cat for me. And it can be any type of cat, right? Like cougar, jaguar, happy cat, sad cat, house cat. Just everybody think of one type of cat. And then we're going to go through and we're going to talk about character design a little bit. All right. And then not sure I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's perhaps for you guys on your end, you need to think about a couple things. One, if you are interested in being a colorist, you know, obviously this is stuff to take note on it for processing and kind of thinking through. Same thing if you're interested in the other parts of this, how do we get a page prepped to get to that stage of the colors? We're looking at how we're going to bring those sketches and ideas to life, the pencil, inking, so that we get here to the color, we're ready to rock and roll. And we're not going to have a digital tool like this. We could explore those other ones possibly if we're interested in going that route. But as of now, we're thinking analog, but doesn't mean we can't pivot or change. Or maybe produce two different layers of analog and digital depending on interest of people. Just some things to think about. And that'll be part of the journey that you guys have to kind of navigate and figure out how you get to lead this. How you get it from start to finish.
All right. And I'm just going to cheat in some spots because I didn't like how it looked naked. Okay. So now that you have an idea of the bare bones of what I do, I'll just do some rendering real quick. We'll finish this panel. And then we'll do some cat character design. I do not like that red.
Marissa, quick question while you're doing that. You suggest starting with the background first, or do you have a process for where you start coloring? How do you
I always try to figure out like what's most important first. So like in this case, the mood's most important. And since the mood's sort of going to set the tone for everything, that's why I started with the background.
Okay.
But you can start wherever, whatever works for you. I guess also in art school, we always learn to start back to front, but that has more to do with like the technicalities of physical paint than it does anything you have to do digitally.
Sure.
That was just like the nature of using oil paint. All right. So let's do some really fast rendering. Does anybody know what rendering is?
I don't think so.
Don't think so? Okay. So you know how when you're looking at something, there's like it falls off into shadow or it casts a hard shadow. Let's see if I can shine a light on my face. Oh, all right. Hopefully this is plugged in. All right. Oh, cool. All right. So rendering is made of different things. There's the cast light and there's the cast shadow. And then there's the fall off shadow, but you don't have to worry about that. right now. So look, when I hold this light up to my face, do you see how this goes really bright? This goes really bright. There's some highlights here that go really bright. And then this stuff sort of falls off. And then there's like a shadow cast from this. When you describe that, what's called describing that with your drawing materials, that's called rendering. So you're describing the way light falls across an object. Does that make sense? That's like a little bit college level, but I trust you all to get it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a shadow color. And so there we go. And then I'm going to use this shadow color to describe how light is falling in the space. And then we are temporarily going to ignore the rest of this. So if you're feeling frustrated, you can just cover up the page, right?
Yes.
And then you just focus on one spot at a time if you're feeling frustrated. If you're not feeling frustrated, you work all around the thing. So we're going to do like that. Just going to cast a little bit of light. We're going to cast a little light on her. When you're drawing with physical materials, you saw that little slash I made. When you're drawing with physical materials, try to keep a scrap paper near you, and then you can test colors on that scrap paper. That way you don't put it down and feel frustrated that it wasn't the thing you intended to put down, because that absolutely will happen. I have sketchbooks that are just dedicated to being scrap papers, because one of the fun things that can happen when you're making things physically is you can get surprises that you weren't expecting. And those surprises can sometimes give you good inspiration for like, I didn't know these two colors looked amazing together, or when I mix these two colors, they make a color I wasn't expecting, right? That'll happen sometimes. There's like some purples that when you mix them with, I think there's a special, very red, purpley red that when you mix with quinacridone purple, ignore the technicalities, but it sometimes comes out green just because of the way the chemicals work together. So sometimes you'll get really, really surprised in physical materials, and it can be fun and exciting, and you get all kinds of stuff you weren't expecting. All right. And in her character design, they talk a lot. They want her to look like really haggard and tired. And one way we can make a person look tired is we just render their face more. So we add like little extra lines and things like that. And it can make a person look really, really tired. You know, like sometimes when you have a lot of stress, you'll lose the sort of meat here, and you lose your fat pockets here. As you age or as you get really stressed, these little fat pockets go away. So having that sort of gaunt look can make a person look very tired. And then we have a big light cast here. I probably should have cast that the opposite way. And we're going to think of shadows as like one big confidence shape. So this arm is one shape. This arm is one shape. Don't move that. There we go. And then once you get the big shape, you can go in and you clarify the little shape like that. Oh, I better get on character design. Usually my turnaround, I'm supposed to do a page ideally in like 2 to 4 hours. And then sometimes I have to turn out a book in a week. Sometimes I get more or less time. It just sort of depends on everybody else since I'm last in line. Right, nice big confident shapes. Boop, boop. And you can always erase, it's fine. If you're drawing in pen and something goes wrong, use whiteout, it's fine. Glue on a whole new piece of paper, really, there's no mistakes, you're fine. The hard part sometimes is figuring out what went wrong. That's probably the hardest part. All right. And then, so one of the characteristics of metal that is different from the characteristics of like, fabric, unless it's silk, metal is shinier. See, like plastics are shinier. Look how tight that highlight is versus the highlight on my face, right? This is kind of diffuse. The edge isn't hard, but this edge at the light is very hard. And because we're in a hospital, we're going to use kind of green lighting because it's kind of gross. Doesn't make us feel good, makes us feel sad. And then we're going to go a little desaturated on that so it's not over the top. All right. And a little bit more. Boop. So it can be kind of hard without practice to sort of identify the characteristics of things. But when you're drawing or when you're coloring, one of the main things you want to do is try to figure out what is the characteristic that makes this object look different from other objects, okay? Which is going to bring us to cats here in a moment. Okay, does that look lonely? All right. So we're going to start with a character design of a cat. May I have one type of cat, please?
Bobcat.
A bobcat. I love them. They're so cute. All right. So we're going to make a kitty base here. We're just going to go ahead. I drew that too high, but it's fine. We'll just work with it. Because some of the characteristics of a bobcat, right, are the ears are especially special on a bobcat. And they have like kind of a scrunched face, right? They have a shorter face than other kitty cats. What are some of the other characteristics of a bobcat? Do they maybe have big fluffy sideburns that other kitties don't have? And maybe they have like, these kind of look like, these look like they're doing this, right?
I sketched that one.
Kind of brown.
Super cool. Sketch that one.
So we're gonna make a kitty with like a more scrunched up face. They have those big ears. And they have these big sideburns. So this, right? And I think they have kind of flatter heads. By the way, I am looking at pictures of bobcats. You're allowed to do that. You don't have to remember what everything looks like. All right. So this is like the most basic elements of a bobcat. And then if we wanted to get fancy, like we could start working on their coloring. They're like a more like a yellowy cat. They have some nice white highlights, right? We're just doing this fast, fast, fast so we can do a couple kitties. Yeah, this one has like they have white characteristics, they have black characteristics, right? And they have that really beautiful eyeliner so many kitties have. All right. And they have that nice line there. All right. We've got a very basic bobcat. What is another type of kitty?
Line, a fat cat.
Garfield.
Okay, wait. One at a time. We're gonna do a fat cat next. Yeah. Okay.
Ready?
So we're gonna do another basic kitty outline. I'm gonna assume this one's like kind of a house cat. So I think house cats have a special kind of face where it's like it's a little shorter, it's a little softer. So I'm gonna look at a picture of a house cat. All right. Yeah, they have like kind of their features are like smaller than a big cat, right? So we're gonna do this, and they have like little bit cuter faces. Not that bobcats aren't adorable, but everything's just like a little softer and a little rounder on a fat cat, a fat, nice fat house cat. And maybe this is a really happy house cat, and that's why it's so chonky, because it's getting fed every day and it just loves to eat. And so we're going to give it some really happy eyes. So when the eyes are happy, they're kind of bigger, they're kind of brighter, right? They like make big shapes. And I do not love the pencil I'm drawing with, so I'm switching. All right. I'll make it like the kitty I used to have. His name was Albert. He was black and white. He was very cute, very chonky. He had a big round face like that. And then just like a little nose with pink dots on it. And we'll just erase mistakes. It's not the end of the world. We got cute little fat cat. Ooh, made his eyes a little wall-eyed, huh? There we go. Doop-a-doop. And then I think another one was what, Garfield?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's old.
I don't think I have drawn Garfield since I was a kid. So even with reference, we'll see if I can do this.
You think we
We'll
could do a cat on catnip?
A cat on catnip? I would love to. We absolutely can. Okay, so Garfield is also a fat cat. He has really exaggerated features. Okay. So, if I remember, you guys are taking me back here. This has been a really long time since I did this. I think you start like that. Ugh, try to make it even. Erase it if it's not. It's not the end of the world. Boop.
Yeah, I see him.
And then we did have a little. Gotta make the nose, interrupt that. Okay. Oh, you might see that I'm doing stuff with blue pencil, blue lines first. So that's like your underdrawing. That's my blue line. And it's just a way to like start your drawing instead of going to the finish stage first. You start with like a pencil or a blue pencil so that you can make mistakes and get things lined up, because you're not going to make the right move every time. Like sometimes your arm twitches and you're just make a crazy stroke. You don't know what happens. You never know what's going to happen when you're drawing. All right. And then he has these little cute things like that. I think my proportions are a little off here, but boop. And then I think it's like a okay. I see what went wrong. Well, we'll just live with it. It's not the end of the world. It's just drawing. Okay. His ears come really like right into the center of his head. And then weirdly, his whiskers are at the top of his head.
Yeah.
Oops. Too big. All right. So we do boop. And erase mistakes. All right. And Garfield has a funny little back up. Just a little chunky guy. Okay. So there we have a rough Garfield. I probably need to draw that about 4 or 5 more times to really get everything down, but you always start somewhere. All right. So then we're going to do a kitty on catnip.
Yeah.
All right. We're definitely going to start this one with blue line. Let's see. Trying to think of some of the characteristics of a kitty on catnip.
Big eyes.
All right. Probably they're a little excited, right? So we're gonna give it big eyes. They're a little like, they're probably a house cat, right? We probably are not, hopefully not giving big cats catnip. Let's do that, and we'll maybe make them a little woozy. And maybe they eat a lot of catnip, so we'll give them really big whiskers. But that face, they're too woozy to compete with their whiskers. All right, and maybe we'll just like close one eye, have one eye big. Kitty got a little insane there. So let's take it back a little bit. This cat looks a little afraid. It's probably not the vibe I exactly want. So I think I want to soften that. Okay. And we'll soften that. Okay. One thing you will find when you're drawing is like little things can make a big difference. Like these little peaks here at the eye ridge, this will make you look sad if they point up. You look angry if they point down, right? That's angry. Happy's the hard one. Because happy, like the bottoms go up and then the tops stay kind of round, but then you can look a little manic. So just try different things until you find a shape you like. And then, you know, use that shape again. One of the warm-ups I like to do if I'm going to go out drawing is I like to just start before I go out and just draw a bunch of shapes. Just like put together different squares, put together different triangles and see what looks cool. Because like some days my brain might just be really into triangles. Some days I'll be really into circles. And those are the shapes that my hands want to draw. And so instead of fighting that, just kind of go with it. Okay. All right, it took a minute to get to an under drawing on that one. But that'll happen sometimes. Making the eyes big and stimulated.
No, stop. I like it. I like it when you guys are getting better about like, first time we did this, it was total cover. Right. I still have some cover, but I have more of you like trying, experimenting, getting comfortable.
Yep, letting other people see what you're doing. Yep.
All right. There we go. Does anybody have a I know you guys are so tiny for me right now. I don't know how to use Zoom. I want to see some of these catnip ones when you guys are done. Ooh, here we go.
Bring some up to the screen.
Yeah.
We'll bring some up for you.
Ooh, good Garfield too. Good job. Oh, I love that one. I love the eyes going in different directions. It's perfect. Oh, yeah. Great job. So angry. What we got? Oh, that one is tired. That has been a long day on catnip. We got, oh my gosh, that one's so sweet. Oh. Oh, these are great. Yes. Oh, good job. So exciting. That one is fuzzy. Ooh, good Garfield too. Oh, I love the harshness of the lines. Good job.
Can you see it?
There you go.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, those are great. Oh, those are great. Good job on doing all four. Oh, such a sweet kitty. All right. Do we want to try one more before I have to go?
Yeah.
I think we had a lion, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna do the same thing. Let's make it easier on you guys too, so you don't just have to copy my drawing. We are gonna look up a lion. It's a lot easier to do a drawing from an image than it is to do a drawing from a drawing, right? It's like a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox. All right. All right. Can you still see that lion? Yeah. Is it still on screen?
Yeah, we can see
Okay,
it.
great. All right. What are some characteristics we see of this lion?
It's got like a triangle diamond face.
Yeah, like a diamond face. That's great. Because it's nice and it's another long face, right? What part of its face is bigger? Is its nose bigger or are its ears bigger?
Nose.
Nose, yeah, it's got a big nose. And this kind of dips down, right? And we're just gonna build up these parts. One of the things I like to do in my drawing when I'm doing serious drawing is I like to sort of reuse shapes a lot, like I mentioned. So that doesn't look like anything, right? But what it is it's actually me putting in the pieces so that I can sort of see how they relate to each other. Right? There's our nose. And that way I don't have to worry really about getting any one piece right at first, because nobody draws everything right the first time. Everybody has to adjust on the fly. They like change what looks right because they put something in and they're like, oh, it doesn't actually look like that. My eyes were tricking me. And what would you say are the shape of a lion's ears, like compared to a bobcat's ears?
Almost like a bear.
Yeah, they're rounder. They're more like a bear. Can we think about how would we make this lion look like a bear? Should I pull up a picture of a bear?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Can you see any similarities in those faces?
The noses are branching out.
Yeah.
The eyes are connected to the nose.
Eyes of the bears are a little bit more squishy with the nose.
Yeah, they're like more narrow set. And what about the mouth? What's different about the mouth? Can we maybe turn our lion into a bear by doing this? Take it down. Like maybe a rounder nose. And a mouth like that. Whoop. A mouth like that. And we get rid of the mane, huh?
What?
And now our lion is a bear. So if you're having this problem where when you're drawing something, it's not looking like the thing you're intending to draw, think about what it looks like, what you're drawing on accident, and pull up a picture of that and then compare the things side by side. Okay, that way you'll be able to figure out, like, why does my lion look like a bear instead of a lion? Should I turn it back into a lion?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what did we have? We had the wider nose, right?
His
A little
eyes are
shorter.
connected.
We have that special kitty shaped nose, right? Where it folds and is kind of diamond shaped. We have the big diamond shaped mouth. And we got that big, nice mane. And then when we're like, oh my God, I love my drawing, I'm ready to finish it, we can take ink over it and try to preserve like our favorite characteristics. I like kind of the dumbfounded look I accidentally drew on this lion, so I'm going to try to preserve it looking like it doesn't know what's going on.
It's literally the Lion King.
I looks like
Literally
Scar.
Mufasa.
Oh, wow. Yep. Like that. She knows how she's an accent.
All right. Does anybody have any questions, anything they're scared about with drawing? anything they're excited about.
Any thoughts, questions, ideas?
We'll have more of us tomorrow when we actually start.
Yeah. I think when we get started, the production, some of those questions will generate.
Sure.
Now they're working on their own artwork, which is good to see.
What's a takeaway from today that you want to make sure you keep focused on? Sharing the production.
What's one takeaway from today?
Yeah, from them, I want to know, like, I mean, I have notes and quotes, so what are some things that you want to keep in mind moving forward?
Like color, like impact.
Okay, oh, sorry.
How shading can make such a big difference.
Colors can define emotions.
Yeah, understanding characteristics like how materials, like some are shinier than others, and large parts of what makes like an animal or a person.
And erase, start over, redo, put a piece of paper on top. Doesn't have to be perfect the first time, right?
No cheating in art.
No cheating in art, I like that.
I think we have one more person over here who had some takeaways.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I said sorry.
she stole your thunder.
Be quiet this time.
I know, Marissa, we're running closer on time. I know you
Yeah.
gotta get back to doing stuff. Is there any, like, as we start the process and we're gonna start moving in creation next week, are there any kind of like obvious mistakes people tend to make when they're getting started in some of this, that as we're thinking about it, kind of generating ideas and all the different kind of jobs and just the process as a whole?
There is one big thing that like everybody does that every professional still experiences and everybody starting out experiences. So I'm just going to warn you about this. Try not to psych yourself out. Like if you're feeling yourself getting really stressed out when you're drawing, just stop. It's okay. Take a break, come back to it. That's the biggest hurdle anyone ever has, because sometimes it is really, really hard to draw and you can see something really clearly in your head, but you can't get it onto the paper. And then you get stuck in a loop of just getting more and more frustrated. So if that happens, stop, step away, come back. Maybe if it's like, you know, you're trying to draw a dress that's really pretty and it's not looking right. Stop that dress. Okay. Go draw just the pattern from the dress that you want to recreate, or pin up a piece of fabric and practice drawing how the fabric falls. Okay. Try to break things down. You don't have to chew it all at once. And when you're getting frustrated, just stop, make it one small piece and work on that. Okay.
Great piece of advice. Marissa, we can't thank you enough. I know we'll be in contact. I know we've got some more follow-up work with you, which we're super excited about. So we really appreciate you making some time for us in this. And I know we're going to do some debriefing and start to put some of these elements together. And next time we see you, we'll be ready to rock and roll with our next lesson with you. So
yeah, that's really exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Everybody did such fun cat drawings. That was really exciting to see. I'm really glad you guys figured out the bear stuff all by yourselves. So good job on that. Okay.
Thank you.
Nice to meet all of you.
thanks, Marissa. Have a great rest of the day.